a 2, a 1.
Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs die out. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs die out. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs die out. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs die out. Tottenham till I die. Tottenham till I die. Spurs die out. Tottenham till I die.
Can't hear you, Ian. Still can't hear you. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfectly. Yeah, that's all right. My microphone. I'm just as Jem come on. He has. Well, there you go. There was my big introduction, and nobody heard a word of it. If ever there was a game of two halves, that was it. Today, it was actually a real reality rather than just a boring football cliche. And to discuss today's events, remarkable events, really, when I think a lot of us were thinking at half time it might be 5 or 6. We end up with a draw. So, is that my microphone? Because I've got some terrible interference.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry about this, guys. Anyway, to introduce, I'm going to introduce the panel for you. Start bottom left, a very old friend of mine. Yes, he is very old. Suffered enough through enough games at various parts of the country with me. My old mucker, Jem Silverstone. Good evening, Jem.
Good evening. Lovely to be here.
Okay, and I think you know the other people. Bottom right, another old mucker of mine, Kev Clark.
Evening all.
Kev.
Yeah.
Top right, his son and resident expert and admin, Tom Clark. Good evening, Tom.
Hello.
And bottom top left, I should say, my partner in crime, Adrian. So good evening to all of you. In the chat numbers are growing. I think people will have a lot to say. Tom, Jem, I'm going to start with you. We were pretty well down to the bare bones, but what were your thoughts when you saw that as the starting lineup?
I was quite encouraged by the thought of Muani and Solanke playing together up front. I have felt for a long time that we've played with one very isolated striker, and that we were never getting anything from that striker. So to have a strike duo struck me as a much better idea. Obviously concerned about the lack of Van de Ven and the inclusion of Dragusin. But otherwise, I could see that there was a semblance of balance there. I'm a big fan of Paulinho, and I think that was vindicated today. Thought he had a great game. So yeah, I was cautiously optimistic that we could lose without being embarrassed.
Kev, let me bring you in then. What was your take?
Well, as you say, we're down to the bit. It's the only thing I might have done would have started Tell rather than Moani, because obviously we'd heard the rumours that Odebeer was injured as well, but then he was on the subs bench. So apart from that, it's probably all he could put out. It's just really a case of what is the formation going to be more than anything else.
Well, let's start then. Let me bring you in, Tom, on the formation. 3-4-2-1 with Dragusin, Polina, and Romero in the back three, with Udogie and Gray pushed on as wing backs. You'd have had a good look at that. You'd have had a good look at that, as would you, Kev, of the how that was working in practice. Thoughts?
Well, I wasn't actually at the game,
Yeah.
but I mean, you know, lots of people have been clamouring for us to play three at the back for a while, but obviously we haven't got the personnel that people want us to actually play it with at the moment. I think, look,
Sorry, go on.
I was just going to say that I'm a big believer in, you know, that formations can put you in the best positions or better positions to win games of football. However, it's about how you go at it. It's you can put players in whatever set position they're in, but if the attitude isn't there in the first place, then it doesn't really matter what formation you're playing. And you know, it seems that in the second half there was a complete change of attitude, irrespective of formation and that, which obviously improved it. But yeah, it was definitely a three at the back. I think we could mould into in the future, but I agree with Jem a little bit that actually we looked far better second half once Moani and Solanke both played as a duo up top rather than kind of. Moani's not a winger. He's just not a winger. Ridiculously, we seem to have loads of wingers, but actually we have no wingers at all that are any decent. But yeah.
Adrian, let me bring you in on this, because I slightly disagree with Tom, and I don't normally, in terms of the fact that not having the personnel. I think if you've got the option of playing Spence or Porro as a wing back, you've got a much better setup. I thought Gray was sold down the river today in the first half by being one-on-one with Semenyo, but having the responsibility as a wing back of getting higher up the field. With the best will in the world, Polina or Dragusin, doesn't matter, it's Polina that played on that side, aren't the natural wing backs and central defenders that you need against that quality of attack. I was really angry when I was watching the first half, because I just thought we played into City's hands.
Well, I'm not a fan of five at the back unless it's a 3-5-2. Unless you're playing 3-5-2. Tom alluded to playing two up the front, up top. And I thought when the first two, I thought, what's he going to do? Is he going to 5? Or I thought he was going to 4-3-3, and I thought Polina would sit in front of the two central centre backs. That's what I thought he was going to do, because I thought every game we've watched this season, when we won or lost, we've always lost the midfield battle, and our midfield was non-existent in that first half, right? Non-existent again. Gallagher's not really at his straps yet. All right, he got an assist today, but he's not really at his straps. And like Laughing Gas, who I call him, was at fault with the fucking first goal anyway. Again, I don't want to see him in a Spurs shirt, but that's just me. So at the back, and I see, and the bit that alluded to that, I thought Polina was mainly set back, because it looked to me in the first half as if he was given the job of marking Semenyo to help Gray out on that side, as if Frank was playing a conservative back five. Because let's be fair, you know, I thought Gray had quite a good game, actually, if you include the second half. But it's fine when your wing backs get forward. When your wing backs don't get forward, back five looks absolute rubbish.
Sorry, yeah, just to clarify my point, Ian. What I was saying is
please.
we didn't have the personnel today to be playing a three at the back. Normally, we do have the personnel. If we had Spence, if we had Van der Ven, if we have Udogie, but today we did not have the personnel to be playing a three at the back.
I got to be honest. When I saw that lineup, and if you look at Diehards, the Diehards chat, I looked at that lineup and thought we're going to play 4-4-2. Gray's going to be an orthodox right back. Romero and Dragusin in the central defence, and then Udogie at left back, and then Bissouma, Gallagher, Xavi, and who have I forgotten? Bissouma, Gallagher, Xavi, and I can't remember who I've forgotten. Anyway, and Polina, of course, in midfield. Even if not as a flat four, even as a 3 and then a 1 with Xavi roaming, and then as Jem alluded to, with Muani and Solanke as 2 forwards, as 2 roving forwards. Maybe Muani with a bit more mobile, moving left and right off of the target man in Solanke. I just looked at that personnel and the way that City play, and I just felt that was the way to take them on. In fact, that's how we played second half. Jem, you talk about a player playing off a second striker. Although no one's sorry to see him go for the money, Brennan Johnson is probably the best player in our squad at playing that role, or was.
Well, we mainly saw him outright, so we very rarely saw him alongside a central striker, and I'm struggling to think when that might have worked well, but I think Muani is really struggling to find his place, and I think that's true of quite a few players. I agree with Adrian that I thought Archie Gray had a brilliant second half. He was right in front of me, and he worked his socks off. He was absolutely shattered at the end of the game. You could see that. But actually, I thought first half, when he was being asked to take on that third of the 3, he was really struggling. And I was beginning to think, if you had to start your team sheet with Archie Gray, where would you put him? And I'm not sure that I know where I would put him. So I think there's still a number of question marks about where certain players fit in, but I do get a sense, and I saw this a bit in the Burnley game and certainly in the European games, that the Simmons and Solanke and Muani and Odobert are starting to understand each other a bit more, and that gives me some hope.
And we live on it.
And of course, that's what kills us in the end.
Always was. Kev, let me bring you on because I've said on this show before, and I've seen people on social media saying Archie Gray, complete waste of £40 million. He's not. If I'm correct, he's not 20 until March. I mean, I think he's an exceptional talent in the making, and seems to mature almost with every game.
Well, yeah, I voted him as player of the season last year.
Yeah,
I'm always going to be a fan of his, and without the swearing, I want to start the chant. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere. Archie Gray, because that sort of seems to be what he is. He as I say, he's a non-stop runner, and he was completely spent just before, as we went into the 9 added minutes, he was knackered at that, and he collapsed on the field at the end. But yeah, I thought he had a good game. I mean, it's a bit hard for me to see what he was doing in the first half because it's right on the other side of the pitch, and I'm reasonably low down. So and obviously Semenyo got through a goal, but the 2 goals really, were the City scored. Well, they were. I mean, Dragusin
Yeah, I'm going to come on to them, Kev, if I can.
Dragged about by Haaland, but that's unsurprising because Haaland could do that to anyone because he's so bloody fast, and everyone. But Dragosin just seemed to they kept passing Haaland between them, Dragosin and Romero, in that first half, and it wasn't working.
No.
You know, it's always you need to man mark the guy, but that's difficult. But but great. Yeah, I mean. He had a great second half. Yeah.
Sorry, Kev. I'm going to come on to the goals. That's why I've come across you, Adrian. I took the three of you that were at the game. The atmosphere, and it was even commented on in commentary, was well. They said it quiet. The word I've used is funereal, which akin to being at a funeral. For us, you know, with 61,000 odd in the ground, Adrian, you could practically hear the grass grow.
Yeah, the crowd were good to start with, but then they got quite an early goal, so it dampens the crowd naturally. There's a few chances of trying to get the team going, you know, and we struggled, didn't we? We struggled with that back five. We just struggled. We couldn't get going forward, and we gifted them 2 goals. Yeah, so it wasn't awful. Second half, it picked up the crowd. Once we got pulled the goal back, I don't think I don't know what they were saying on the TV. It wasn't like at its best, but it wasn't dead. It wasn't a dead atmosphere. Not from 2-1, and we got the early goal second half. It wasn't dead atmosphere in that second half.
No, the first half seemed to be very, very.
Yeah, well, that happens if you're a goal behind. It's 2 things that happen. You need the team to lift the crowd, or you need the crowd to lift the team. You can't expect the crowd to do it all the time. Sometimes the crowd need a lift as well, and it relies on the team. So, you know, yeah. So,
Jim, was there almost an expectation? I mean, let's be honest, we don't win much these days at home. Did you get the feeling there was almost an expectation that we would lose the game, and it was just effectively waiting for the executioner's axe to fall?
Well, not for the first time. I'm sure there were Spurs fans who wanted us to lose. To not open up any further gap and give Arsenal any more advantage. But I think that when you looked at the lineups, when you looked at the subs benches, you know, comparing those two, it was chalk and cheese. And to mix the metaphors, it was men and boys on the pitch first half. I mean, they were really running rings around us and we didn't know what to do. And I think a lot of people were just resigned, if anything. I don't think it was funereal. I think we were just resigned to, okay, we're down to bare bones. We're playing one of the best teams in the world. They've got most of their key men fit. This is not a game that we're going to get anything from. And all honesty, I think if I was a City fan, I'd be absolutely gutted at the way they sat back second half and allowed us back into the game.
Talk about the second half, because I think there's a weakness in City that we haven't seen, and I don't think we've seen in any Pep team in the last 15 years or so. Kev, let me bring you in. I don't know, you might need more light there. Your head's gone. Yeah, better. We're going to talk about the 2 goals we conceded, because for all Manchester City's dominance and playing between the lines and, you know, finding little passes between the defenders and what have you, the 2 goals from a defensive point of view were shocking. And we'll talk about the first one first, logically. Bissouma just caught in possession so easily.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't good. I mean, for me, Bissouma and Gallagher in the first half were almost anonymous. They were completely outplayed, you know, by the City midfield. They weren't winning anything. You know, and it was only a matter of time really before one of them misplaced a pass or got caught in possession like Bissouma did. So it was, you know, it was almost inevitable. But the shot, I thought Vicario should have got something on it, and he didn't at all. So, you know, in terms of, you know, it was from the edge of the area, and he should have got a finger on it at least, or something like that. So I don't think that was a particularly good bit of goalkeeping. But we're our own worst enemies. Most of the goals we've been given away recently are from our errors more than anything else. Coming forward, and that's happened a lot this season. Individual errors have been costing us the goal.
Tom, have you caught up on the goals?
Yeah.
Any thoughts? I mean, it just seemed to me, just run into a brick wall, lose possession of the ball. You lose the possession of the ball there against a side like City. You're always so, vulnerable in transition.
Yeah, and I've said it in a few of the chats. I genuinely feel that this current iteration of players are better at playing when the game is chaotic than when they try to control the game. If we try to control the game and pass around the back, it's just inevitability that at some point one of the players who hasn't got very good technical ability is going to give the ball away at some point. In the second half, when we played a bit more chaotic and pressed them higher and tried to go for it, we forced them into mistakes. I mean, I would argue that playing two central midfielders against a Man City free midfield is just asking for trouble initially. Like even with Basuma and Gallagher, who are two players that can run around and cause and press and cause problems, asking two of them to do that is just silly. And then obviously forced into a change at half time, which then meant we went with a 3-man midfield and put an extra pair of legs in there in Sarr, who's got good legs in terms of running around and chasing, and lo and behold we suddenly put them under a bit of pressure. So excuse me. I'm not the biggest fan of Dragusin, but we do also have to remember this was the first time he's played a game of football in 14 months. And he wasn't exactly a pass master before that. and actually second half he done a brilliant job of taking Haaland out of the game when he went man to man with him. Playing in a free where Haaland can drift between a couple of defenders didn't really suit. Whereas, when he could go man for man, he did a good job. But and also he's not a defender who should be playing on the left side of the defence ever either.
No.
And I mean, to be honest, his clearance for the second goal was so reminiscent of when Vicario came bombing out against Fulham and did exactly the same thing. You're just asking for the player to just put your foot for it. Even in that thing, just stick it out for the throw-in. Kicking it into the middle of the pitch is just idiocy at its finest. Like, unless you're picking out one of our players, just either stick it up the line or stick it out. Like, I know it's schoolboy stuff. If in doubt, get it out. But there isn't a time and place, or sometimes you just need to get rid.
Yeah. I won't ask you about the Basuma mistake, Adrian, because I don't want to bring on any heart failure. So we'll talk about the Dragusin one. I mean, my point is, everybody knows, probably everybody has seen the game, seen the goals, knows what happened, people in the chat as well. We were hopelessly outclassed first half, and yet the two goals were so awful to concede. And that Dragusin pass into, who did it go to, Rodri or whatever, and two passes later, the ball's with Semenyo, who finishes with aplomb, I think is the word.
Yeah, well, I mean, the reason Dragusin was on the left was because I believe Frank wanted a bit more insurance on the right, keeping Paulinho there with Gray to keep a check on Semenyo. I think that's what that was for, because there was a few times when Paulinho and Semenyo come together. Semenyo was going down and complaining every time for a free kick. I think that was just tactical. Otherwise, and when we've seen Dragusin in Europe, he did play on the right. He got sent off in one game. He was good in the Euros. Come to us, he's had mixed. Today, it was mixed. There was a few times when he actually let the ball go out over the line, so he judged it well. There was one occasion where, he sold himself forward, and the player got well in front of him. I thought, oh no, what's happening now? And but he was better second half, and he hasn't played for 14 months, so fair play. And I think there's a player there in the right system. He's tall enough, he's quick, And actually, I thought it was the best I've seen him passing in the game from what we've seen of him. That second half. What was the best I've seen of him? So, yeah, I mean, I don't think he's got a future at this football club, though, because you've got Byfield and Vuskovic, and you've even got Phillips out on loan at Stoke, and Dorrington's now back with the under-21s. So I think he's one of those players we bought, like Elogio Velez, who just were bought at the time thinking it was a good idea, and now they're going to be gone. I think he'll go, but he won't be allowed to go in the summer.
He won't be allowed to go until the summer.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get rid of him.
Yeah. Jem, what's your view on Dragusin?
I think he's at the moment a necessary squad player. I don't think he did too badly today, despite the mistake. There was a lot of passing back to the keeper, and actually one of the features of the second half was what a difference it made to our attacking intent to have Paulinho in control of that back line, getting the ball forward much more quickly than Romero ever has. And I think that Romero has been shown up time and time again, not only for his lack of urgency, but also for his lack of positional sense. So many goals we've given away this season. When you look back, it's been Romero who's been the one who hasn't anticipated the cross or the flight of the ball. I was intrigued to know why he went off, and maybe we'll never know. Maybe it was just a bit of illness.
Oh, he said he was ill. You think there was more to it than that?
Our immediate reaction to seeing that he'd gone off was that he and Frank must have had some honest words in the dressing room. I don't know. I might be completely misinterpreting that, but if I was a manager, I would be really frustrated about Romero because he's capable of being so much more.
You and I have had conversations about Romero on more than one occasion. I think I think
the second half was probably our best defensive performance of the season.
Well, right, let me just because you don't know where I'm taking this show, but that's the next slide, or the next, and then that's the one after that. So that's where I'm going with this. Kev, let's bring you in on this. We'll talk about your views on Romero after, but bringing Romero off for whatever reason, Sarr goes into midfield. We're playing an orthodox back four, and it's a completely different second half.
Yeah, well, suddenly we have three in the middle of the park, so that made a difference to start off with. I mean, just flipping back a little bit to that goal and Dragusin, one thing that got the crowd up between the two goals was all of a sudden Dragusin took a goal kick and passed it down the line to Udogie, and the whole of the South stand went, yay! Because we weren't playing it across the back to Vicario to fuck about with it. So, you know, and he did it again just before the goal. And unfortunately, he got the ball back to him, and that's when he did the bad pass. But he was being a bit more progressive. But yes, I mean, I'd agree with Jem. All around us, he must have had a bust up with Frank to take Cutie off at half time because he didn't look injured.
No,
we hear he was sick and he was ill against Frankfurt as well. So,
Kev, can I come in, because a couple of people in the chat are saying this as well. The word is that there's been an illness in the camp all week. Several players have struggled with it. One of whom was Romero, and the other one was Odobert, which is why Odobert was able to come on and look quite fresh. But not start the game. The other thing I heard, and Jem, you're closest, was that Romero was sitting on the bench for the second half. Now I didn't see that, and I don't know if you did, but I'm not sure it's helpful that we speculate that there was a big argument between Romero and Frank, unless there's evidence to support that.
No,
No,
I'm just saying.
what I'm saying was that was the general feeling in the crowd. That was the
Yeah,
general feeling in the crowd.
okay.
Because no one had said about him being ill or anything else before that, or either the Frankfurt game. Obviously, they keep things close to their chest. But the general feeling in the whole crowd was, why has he gone off? There must have been a bust up. You know, now they're telling us he was ill. Fair enough. Okay, he was ill. But, you know, at the time, the general feeling in the crowd was, you know, he'd had a bust up.
I think that there have been plenty of occasions in the past when there have been bust ups that have been euphemistically described in lots of different ways, and it wouldn't surprise me when Thomas Frank's memoirs come out that we'll find out that was actually a euphemism for, you know, he's sick in the head.
But it's no surprise, is it, that you'd get that sort of speculation among the crowd when you're going in at half time and we were a shit show.
Yeah.
Adrian, I was going to ask you to comment anyway. So, why would we look so much more solid with our fourth and fifth choice centre halves?
Well, because we had extra man in midfield, basically. We reverted to a 4-3-3. And I've been saying it all season. And we all know this. You know, most games are won and lost in midfield, so now you're going to play two there, are you? Well, I would have thought Frank would have learnt by now. I mean, the 3-4-3 has worked in games. It has worked. But against, as Tom said, and Kevin Stanbridge, you can't play two centre midfielders. Don't sit as three, just madness. I agree. Totally agree. And midfield, we slag off our forwards, but you've got to give them chances in the game. All right, they might see them not do nothing, but what service do they get? You know, at least when the kids come on, they show a bit of fight and want to get on with the game. That was the difference. We gave City more to think about second half because we had the extra body in there. And I think Frank decided that second half, and he should have known. And when we started with a 5 at the back, my heart sunk a bit when I knew it was a 5, not a 4-3-3, because I could see what was going to happen before it happened. I was hoping it wouldn't happen that way, where they dominated us. It looked like they could play for us anytime they wanted to and score a goal. You know, so where's the football IQ on the field to stop this? Where's one player going to step up and go like, hang on? I mean, Polina.
Still no leaders.
Yeah, well, Polina was good in the second half. Some of the tackles he made were fantastic. But he should have. I thought it was going to be Gallagher and him. And look, and the other thing is, Gallagher's not had a settled partner in this team at midfield alongside him either. So when you're like that, so when you're a forward, whether do I go forward, do I stick, do I twist, what do I do? You know, because he's going to be fine for us because we know he's a quality player, just below that elite level. But he hasn't shown it yet. He got an assist today, but he hasn't shown it yet. And therefore, you've got laughing gas alongside him, who I want out the club, right? Because like he's looked flat. We have the problem with this fan base. We get emo with players. Suddenly they're crap, and then they have 2 good games. Oh, he's good. Give him a new contract, and then they're inconsistent. They're crap again. He hasn't got it to maintain a consistent level. He's got all the skill in the world, Basuma. We need to get rid of these players.
Tom, why on earth does Bissouma start ahead of Sarr? Explain that one to me, because I don't get it.
It's because Bissouma is better on the ball than Sarr. And especially if you're playing a 2-man pivot, you need at least one of those players to be able to progress the ball, either by passing or by dribbling and taking a man on, which Bissouma can do. Sarr can't. Sarr's passing stats are some of the worst stats you'll ever see in your life in terms of passes completed. I think he's like roughly around 60% of the passes he makes actually reach the man, which is just it's terrible. I really like Sarr. I think he's got legs. I think he's a good finisher. He should be a box crasher. And along in a midfield 3 alongside the right players, I think he can definitely be a weapon. But that is generally the reason. But if you want to play a possession-based game, which Frank, believe it or not, does want to do, he just doesn't want dangerous possession. He wants us to keep it in our back line until there's the opportunity to spring forward. A player like Bissouma is better. Like Bissouma, if you put Conor Gallagher's attitude into Bissouma's ability, you would have a fantastic midfielder based on the technical abilities that Basuma has. He just hasn't got the attitude for it, clearly, as he's shown with a few sort of misdemeanors and stuff now, which is frustrating for a player that could be a very, very, very good Premier League midfielder, that he just can't be bothered for whatever reason most of the time. In terms of your question on there, it's 100% what Ian said. We put a third man in midfield. Not only did we put a third man in midfield, but we put legs in midfield. So you had Gallagher and Sarr, who were able to chase around and pressure and harry in City into mistakes. Paulinho, going back to the Romero thing, I feel like Paulinho, when he plays centre back, has a lot of the attributes that Romero is very good at, which is diving into a challenge but winning the ball. Paulinho's got the most successful tackles out of all players in the division, and he just seems to know when to go for the tackle and when not to go for the tackle. He's just got that innate ability to be able to do that and judge it really, really well. And actually, he worked superbly as a centre back. Now, there's one thing doing that for 1 or 2 games. Can he do it consistently across many? Well, we don't know. My biggest frustration with Romero is that he's either a 10 out of 10 or he's a 2 out of 10. You very rarely get any of the numbers in between. If you're looking at him as a captain, if I was a player on the pitch and I was looking at my captain often sulking or diving in or just causing a bit of a problem, I'm not sure that's the kind of person I could get behind as a captain. To be honest with you, you want your captain to be the one with a cool head that, you know, that's not the guy that's sulking and stuff. But it's a difficult one because I do think Romero is, on his day, arguably one of the best defenders in the world. And if you surrounded him with players of a similar quality, then you would have one of the best defenders in the world. I'm just not sure he's right for what we need at this present moment in time.
Jem, I remember having a conversation with you maybe this time last year, which went something along the lines of maybe Romero's not as good a player as we think he is. And your response was maybe Romero's not as good a player as he thinks he is. Have you changed your mind?
Not in the slightest. I don't trust him as a leader. I think up until maybe today, my inclination would be to take him out of that defence altogether and put him up front, because actually he seemed to have far more positive impact up front, and we were so bereft of strikers that it seemed to be, a win-win to do that. I think it calls up the issue of intelligence and attitude, and I think there's players in that team who have demonstrated that they can keep a cool head, as Tom was saying. And I think Van de Ven is clearly one of those. Paulinho is definitely one of those. Gray is one of those. They're players who clearly are thinking about what they're doing. They're not always doing it, but most of the time they are. There's others in that team, and I would list maybe Spence and Udogie and Tell and Porro at times, who just seem to be brainless. And that frustrates the hell out of me. So I'd love to see Paulinho being given a new contract and signed up. I think he's a real asset to the club, and he's one of the few players I really trust. And there's not many in that team I really trust.
Yeah, you and Graham are definitely on the same page. Paulinho is a real leader. Kev, let me bring you in then. What do you do with the problem? What do you do with the enigma that is Romero? Because certainly there was a lot of stuff on the group chats after the game. It's time, if someone said if someone put up 50 or 60 million to buy him, we should bite their hands off for it, to be honest. And I think coach Dave came on and said, "I've been saying this since the Liverpool game. That I mean, basically, he's a liability too often, and we should cash in and spend the money."
Yes. Short enough for you?
Yeah.
I've been saying this about Romero.
Yeah.
Since about the middle of last season, he slows us down all the time. He takes an age to make a decision, to make a pass. Some people would say it's because there's no movement in front of him, and which is true. But everything slows down, and I've been frustrated with it for yonks. I've been saying this season, put him in midfield, put him as a holding midfielder in front of a back four, where he can, do his passing. If that's, everyone seems to say he's a wonderful passer. Okay, he's a wonderful passer, but he doesn't do it often enough. Stick him in midfield, or as Jen was saying, blimey, what he did against Newcastle and other people, stick him up front, which he seems to like to do. But he is an enigma, yeah, he is. But I've been frustrated with him for a long time. I noticed in the chat as I was coming back from the game, I criticised him, and someone else put, if you don't think Romero should be a starting, then you're on the wrong planet or something like that. But he's just not doing it, is he? He's not doing it consistently for us, and he does have these rushes. He had it today. He rushes of blood to the head, stormed forward from his position to about halfway line, having to scramble back to cover the danger from all the City was coming through. I don't know what it is with him. Okay, yeah, great for Argentina, and what was it? Lissandro was saying he's the best centre half in the world. He's the best player to play with, and everything else. But it's just not. I don't think he's doing it for us.
Adrian, you wanted to come in.
Well, we've got another centre back that progresses the ball. I mean, VDV will go and charge and runs. He doesn't progress the ball. And the issue, I come back to the midfield again. Why is it when we look at Man City and other teams that when we've had a midfield pivot of two, right, we get overrun in midfield? The midfielders that there are marked up tight. There's no one to give the ball, right? I mean, Romero can put a ball through when you get a run away at West Ham. He chips it forward, and Bergvall heads it home, things like that. I mean, I'm a big fan of Romero. If others aren't, that's fine. It's subjective. You either like a player or you don't. I think he does bring leadership to the team. I think they look to him. All the back four always look to give him the ball every opportunity. That's how much trust or how much they've got in him. He chips in with goals. He'll make the odd error, but what defender doesn't? We've seen enough errors in this team without looking at Moreno. I think there's other errors that need fixing. I think that midfield needs fixing. Most games are won and lost in midfield. And I just think, you look at City, whenever they broke the first half, there comes all their players have got so much space on the ball. Why aren't we tight on them? Even on throw-ins, other teams mark us up tight. Why aren't we marking players tight for when they've got the ball and throw-ins? Why aren't we doing this? Jem's right about lack of football IQ out there. But then we've got enough coaches as well there. And I think you do need movement in front of Romero. And let's be fair, we're high up. We haven't got the players' line of sight to our line of sight. You hear people shout around you when you see pass it to them. And I'm thinking do you realise how hard that pass is that you're asking that player to do? Right? I mean, no, I am a big fan. Serious stats add up at the end of the season. You should judge all players by then. How many games you've played. See how your stats add up. I think his will be very favourable.
Just to clarify my stance on Romero as well. I was the one who chucked in the figure of if you get offered 60 million, I'd take it. And what I mean by that is I don't think we should be looking to sell Romero, but in terms of sale or sellable assets that we have as players, he is one of them. He is one of them that will generate a decent sum of money. And I do feel that with the money that you get with him, you could improve the squad to fill the hole that he would leave a lot easier than if someone like Van der Ven was sold, or even to be honest, like how many players would you say in our squad we could sell for over 50 million?
Let me put a scenario
Not
to you.
many.
Jose's in the
Like,
house.
that silence is deafening.
Can I just say, 50 million is not our problem. You know, we've been told by ENIC that there's 100 million, 150 million, whatever it is in the kitty. We've not actually spent any money in this window, and it really concerns me that a squad that, despite, you know, obviously we have a lot of injuries to key players, that goes without saying, but you know, should we really not be looking to spend some of that money now, whilst we're still in the Champions League, with the prospect of you know, improving things? And I appreciate we can't use all players in the Champions League, but you know, it's still a pool. Come the end of the season, conservatively, we might be mid-table. We're unlikely to have European football. Who's going to want to come to us at that point?
100%. We should be spending that money, but the club has proven, under, if it's Levy or even if it's under these owners, or sorry, this is still the same owners, but under this new management, they will not spend money unless they have made money from player sales, and that is just, unfortunately, the situation we're in with this ownership. And until this ownership goes, that is seemingly not going to change. They claimed, oh, we've got 150 million to spend. Well, where is it? The only player you've bought is Conor Gallagher. That will happen to be the exact same price as what we sold Brennan Johnson for.
Yeah.
So it's a case of we've got to sell players to try and reinvest in the teams, and that's why I'm saying, like, Romero would be one that I wouldn't cry if we got a decent sum of money for, because I think actually I don't think you can replace him with a player that will give you that 10 out of 10 performance, that match-winning performance that he put in against Newcastle. I don't think you'll be able to replace him in terms of that with another centre-back, but I do think you could replace him with a centre-back that's going to be a solid 6, 7, 8 out of 10 every game, rather than the 210, 210, 210, 210 that you get with Romero. Absolutely, this ownership needs to, this 150 million. We all heard it. They've all said it, that they're putting into the club to spend on transfers. Well, where the hell is it?
Can I come back to it? Sorry, I'm being rude, because I've got a section on transfers, and I think we do want to discuss that, because with the updated information that I've got, at least hope I've got. Jose's in the house, so good evening, Jose. Not sure when I'm next at a game, maybe a couple of weeks. I might even do the Arsenal game. We'll have to see. But yeah, I want to come back to that. Just one thing on Romero before we move on, because I want to talk about the second half and then talk about the transfer stuff. It would appear now that Thomas Frank is going to get the rest of the season. I can't see now any reason that we won't. I think West Ham just shows how football goes. Us 2-0 down, nearly coming back and winning 3-2, but getting to a point. West Ham yesterday 2 up and cruising at half time, lose 3-2. Could have been a 5-point gap. Is now a 9-point gap? Is it 9? Yeah, I think we're 9 ahead of West Ham. So we're not in any imminent danger of getting relegated, which changes anything. But I wonder if someone wants to come on this Romero point. If a certain Argentine called Maurizio Pochettino is the manager, whether that would change Romero, whether that would change your minds.
I mean, I'll come in on that.
Yeah, anyone. I don't care who comes in on that.
Possibly. I think Romero is a player that Poch would like, although what I would say is, from when Poch was here, he didn't particularly like his defenders diving into challenges. Toby Alderweireld and Jan Vertonghen were very intelligent defenders and knew when to tackle, when not to tackle, whereas Romero steams into anything he thinks he has if it's a 70-30 ball and he's the 30, he will still go steaming in for it. So yes, possibly that might be someone who Poch would like, but again, that's something you assess at the end of the season if Pochettino was to come back. I mean, there's a lot of managers that are going to be available in the summer, and I would actually say that Pochettino of all of them probably comes fourth or fifth on my list. The main reason why I think we should get Pochettino back is just so that every time we have a manager who's slightly on a wobble, Spurs fans will stop saying that we need to bring Mauricio Pochettino back. It's like an itch that just needs to be scratched, just so we can get it out of our system more than anything. I think he is a good manager. He was a good manager. I think he still is a good manager. People say about his time in PSG, but I don't think it's as bad as what everyone made it out to be. He still won trophies whilst he was there. I don't think he was ever really the right fit for that job, but it is what it is. I think actually when he went to Chelsea, he did actually do a fairly good job there, as proven by the fact that no other manager has done as well as he did anyway. And he steadied. Let's face it, that's a horrible job for a manager, the Chelsea job. Not in terms of you're going to get loads of players, but you're not going to get the players that you necessarily want. But I would rather have allegedly Luis Enrique is going to be available. Julian Nagelsmann is probably going to be available. You've got Alonso, you've got Xavi. There's a lot of managers that I would probably put higher on my list than Pochettino. But like I said, I almost want us to get Pochettino just so we can stop having this conversation about bringing Pochettino back.
He would unite the fan base, and Conor Gallagher was his captain at Chelsea. So these are other things that play into fans' minds. Also, for me, I'd have him back just because when they said, we didn't win anything Spurs, hang about. He got us to a few finals, right? All right, we lost them. But he wasn't backed in 518 days. If he had been backed, like, look what he did. He raised the expectations at the football club. We used to celebrate if we qualified for the UEFA Cup. He raised it. We then expected, we finished second, third, and fourth under him. I mean, but they were our highest our positions. And if he'd been back, we may have gone on and won one of those league titles, right? We will never know. But I think he's a fine manager. I mean, but there are lots of good managers out there. But come the summer, there'll be lots that will be sacked after the World Cup. You could add Tuchel to that if he doesn't do well with England. You know, there are lots of managers out there, but he is one that would unite the fan base. And if he's backed,
but do you not think Nagelsmann would unite the fan base?
Yeah, well, I think
actually Nagelsmann would probably unite it more than
great tactician. I think Tuchel. I think Fernandes. I think Luis Enrique. I mean, I think there are lots of good managers out there, right? And look, if a lot of them want to manage in the Premier League, and Spurs are, I don't care. I know we're going through shit, and we have with injuries last few seasons, but we won a trophy. You wouldn't think we won a trophy, We should have a nice warm glow in us inside carrying us through this season, but we haven't, right? But we haven't, right? But no, Tom, I agree. There's lots of managers out there. I want one which is Spurs DNA, though. Please, let's have a Spurs DNA manager. You go back, you go Arthur Rowe, you go to Billy Nicol, you go to Keith Burkshaw, you even go to Odell and Ardili, so with Spurs DNA, you go to Venables, you go to Martin Yole, you go to Harry Redknapp, you go to Pochettino. They were Spurs DNA, right? Now, Conte wasn't. You knew it end badly with him. You knew it was going to end badly with Mourinho. There you go, centric managers. It's about them, not about the football club. I don't managers come in and think they're bigger than my football club. Support them over 6 decades. I'm not having that. Then you get Nuno, we didn't know much about. Ryan Mason had to step in and all that. None of those managers were Spurs DNA because the board at this club was absolute crap, right? And Levy's only the front man for Phoenix, so they don't get off the hook, right, either. Because they've sat behind and watched their stake grow exponentially in this football club, from hundreds of millions to billions it's worth now. And and they've sat there and watched this. We've gradually gone backwards. I mean, on the positive side, the way I look at it, the positives, because I like to be positive, is that we have failed better in the transfer market. And for all the crap we've gone through, and as a season ticket, I'll go to watch games like you and Kev do, and Ian does as well, whatever, right? What this situation has done, it's helped develop a lot of younger players who wouldn't have got game time. So you're getting Odegaard, you're getting Tell, you're getting Xavi, you've got Gray, and you've got Bergvall. They've gained value experience. And I hope that valuable experience turns into something and they build on it and it turns into success. But we'll see. ran
Let's
over.
talk about, I knew I'd made a mistake introducing the manager subject. Let's talk about those 2 goals, Kev, particularly that second goal. You must have had a wonderful view of it, but I wonder if you realised just how good it was when it was on live. Kev?
You're on mute, Kev.
I'm off now. Okay. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So yeah, I had a perfect view of it along the 6-yard line. I'm right in line with it. As soon as Gallagher got down the right and crossed it over, and you could see it was behind him, but so it was a deliberate flick with his heel. And considering how big Donnarumma is, to perfectly lob it over him with a back heel like that was absolutely superb. And I said Puskas goal straight away for that second one, but he probably won't get that. And the first one was equally as good, really, because although it looked like, you know, there was some bobbling about, he managed to hook his foot around the defender and to sort of take it off of the defender's boot to bobble it across the line as well. So that was great. And the dribble he did, flicking it between his own legs as well, was absolutely. It was great. I mean, and it's just what he needs, and we need. I mean, he's been scoring goals regularly since he's come back, hasn't he? You know, so it's what we've been missing, for sure.
I do think that the 4, if you look at the 4 goals he scored, the one he scored in the week actually was a real striker's goal, and it was exactly the kind of goal that we've been missing for so long. It's exactly the kind of goal that Solanke had been scoring for Bournemouth for fun week in, week out, and it was really nice to see him run onto a through ball, slot it into the corner with such confidence. The other 3 goals, I'm not convinced, but it proves that if you've got a striker in that number 9 position, you will get goals. You know, I don't think anybody would seriously believe that if you threw in that cross from Gallagher 100 times, that he would score more than once out of those 100 times. You know, anybody that's played the game will know sometimes you stick out a leg and you maybe have an intent to do something with it. Sometimes it goes your way like that, but you couldn't repeat that in a million years. So let's not get carried away. We play much better second half. And Solanke was there, right place, right time. He did really well to get his goals. I don't begrudge him any of those at all. I hope he gets many more. But I do think of him as much more of a target man.
You're getting in trouble, Tom. Kev, rather. Kev's stealing my lines. I said those words underneath the South stand. I presume that was when you two were having a beer after the game. But Tom, I mean,
I said it in the South stand. I said it in the South stand, Jose.
Yeah, Tom, Solanke. Let's go get serious with you and Solanke. I mean, it does make a real difference when you've got a proper, effective target man that can hold the ball up and gets into position to actually convert or finish the work that the midfield and wingers are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. He kind of has the finishing kind of ability of Richarlison with the kind of link up play of Mawani. So
that sounds like an insult.
It's not an insult at all, because Richarlison is probably one of the best one-touch finishers in the Premier League. It's just he can't do anything else outside of that. So, you know, if you put a ball into the box and you want a player on the end of it, then Richarlison is generally a good player to actually have there, as proven this season and proven in many other seasons as well. He's just not very good at doing anything else. He needs the ball putting on a plate for him. Solanke is a good finisher. He's also good at holding the ball up. He's also good at passing the ball. He's kind of an all-round striker that can do everything. Is he a world-class player? Absolutely not by any stretch of the imagination. Is he a player that we could improve on? Absolutely, he could. But is he the best striker we have at the club right now? Yes. And the fact that he has been out injured for so long and he's come back in and he's already clearly ahead of the other two strikers that we've had this season. It just shows, how much we have missed him and how much probably Thomas Frank has missed him as well. To be honest with you, so yeah, I mean,
sorry.
With the thing, you probably could repeat that 100 times or more, and him not score it, but he scored the one that mattered. And sometimes it is just a case about getting a piece of your body on it and getting it towards the goal, and what happens from there. The only slightly disappointing thing was that Donnarumma did get a hand to it. I think it would have looked a lot more aesthetically pleasing if it had just gone straight over Donnarumma and in. But yeah,
very good. Hey, Adrian, is Solanke an outside bet now for a World Cup place?
Yeah, you've got Kane and who else? Yeah, you've got Kane and who else? He can do a specific job for you, can't he?
Yeah,
He won't be first choice. I've said all along. I mean, all of us here, and even Tom, who's youngest. I mean, look, we've seen much better strikers. We could reel off much better strikers that we've had at this football club over the decades, right? Ben Solanke or Richarlison, But the modern game seems to be like, if you're a striker and you can get 15 goals, you're some sort of god. I mean, back in the day, you expected your number one striker to get you 20, 25 goals in a season. But the game's just changed that way. There's less chances of, I don't know if what the goals ratio was back in the day that was now, but I bet it was higher. But Solanke's. I mean, look, he's a good player. We need him in this team, but we need more, don't we? We need more because Moani's. I like Moani as a footballer. He's got all the attributes of being a striker. Whether he needs to play through the centre or whatever, I've seen him play on the left-hand side on his videos. Eintracht Frankfurt, he was outstanding, but it's not happening for him. And like Solanke's the only one. You're always wondering, Richarlison, like, when's he going to get injured again? Can he maintain that form? If when he comes back, I mean, so I'd get rid. I'm keeping Solanke, but I'm getting rid of the others, getting rid of Richie, and he can go, and we need to bring someone else in as well, unless you're going to promote Lancashire. Right, so, yeah.
I'm a little bit surprised that someone maybe want to pick up on this. We haven't brought a couple of the players back from loan, given the injury crisis and given the difficulty of bringing in the quality players we want, like Will Lancashire. Even Mikey Moore came on as a sub for Rangers and looked really, really dangerous in a sort of floating 10 role. And in fact, Dane Scarlett looked really good for Hibs the 20 minutes he came on. So there are players, we've letting players go out. We'll come on to it when we talk about the transfer window. A lot of players going out, but precious few coming in, and we seem to get injury after injury. I don't really understand the thinking of the management team on that. Nita asked a question in the chat. I won't bring it up, but about what did we think of Gray at right back, and we dealt with that earlier in the show, Nita. But I will answer it. I think everybody felt he certainly was better second half in a flat four, but we are all, I think, to a man on this panel, big fans of Archie Gray and think he's got a massive future ahead of him as a Spurs player and as an England player. I think he might be an outside bet for the World Cup squad as well. He is, particularly with his versatility. Let's pick this up with you, Jem. We've got to talk about Xavi. Sorry, where's that guy? Did I put that on the 10? Did I put that on the 10-second one? Because I didn't intend to. If it goes off, it goes off again. Xavi Simons. I thought, by God, second half in particular, he was like a man possessed. I thought he was superb.
He showed what he's capable of, and I think a lot of people have felt that he's just been too lightweight, too easy to dispossess, tends to run into blind alleys. But against a City team, and let's not get this out of context or perspective, they didn't pressurise us in the same way in the second half as they did in the first half. But he really showed such determination, such drive. He set a great example. I thought he had a great second half. Certainly the best I've seen from him. And You know, it gives you cause for optimism.
Yeah, seems to be getting better every game, Kev.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, against Frankfurt, he showed it as well, and probably the 2 games before that, he's been getting better and he's more into it now, and he's been getting better and better. But yeah, he was great in the second half again. Even with his defending when when we were being pushed back towards the last 10 minutes or so, he was good there. So yeah, I think I have him as my man of the match actually. In that, because he was very good in that second half.
Yeah. Funny enough, man of the match, I was thinking about this, Adrian, and I'm like, how can you not give it to Solanke for his 2 goals and particularly in the second? But
well, because Xavi turned the game, that's why. Without Xavi, we wouldn't have got the goals. I mean,
No.
he's going to be an absolute superstar, isn't he? I mean, he's already a fan's favourite now. He's sort of won them over. All right. There were times in the first half he did get a bit pushed off the ball a couple of times. But as Jem alluded to, he's tenacious. He comes back and gets stuck in. He got a book in as well, right? But that doesn't deter him. This is what I like about him. He's a bit like the animal that keeps coming, nipping back at you and nipping back at you. He doesn't give up. And I thought, fair play to you. It won't be long before he puts one of the goals that Frank don't want you to shoot from outside the box, because when you go and watch his videos of his goals, they're virtually all from outside the penalty area. Curlers in, So I just think I'm glad we've got him. I mean, if he can be consistent, we've got a fantastic player on our hands there.
Tom, let me bring you in on this, because there's so many criticisms, the players are rubbish, the squad's rubbish. But, you've got Udogie, who's a more than decent left wing back. You've got Van der Ven, who's developing into one of the best central defenders in the world. Romero, we know, is on his day is as good as there is. Just he doesn't have his day often enough. Porro and Spence, particularly Jed Spence, has got a lot to give. Polina has just been absolutely superb. You've got Gray, who's a star in the making. You've got Conor Gallagher, really, really efficient player who is only going to get better. Xavi Simons just looks like he's got everything you want. I think we're lightweight up front, but at least we got Solanke back. We're going to talk about the transfer window in a minute. But the squad, in my opinion, needs improving, as any squad will. But it's not as bad as... It's certainly not a 14th in the table squad. It should be much higher than that.
No, absolutely. It's not... The squad of players we have should be finishing top 8 very, very comfortably. You could make an argument for should be finishing top 6 very comfortably. We're just missing some real key pieces of the puzzle that would link everything together. And I also just think that the squad depth is just, well, as proven, is not very sufficient. And this is why I've got frustrated with Thomas Frank, is because I think he should be getting better out of the team. That's why I was frustrated with Ange last season, because I felt he should have been getting better and more out of the team despite all the injuries. But the injuries are ludicrous. And we have suffered with it worse than pretty much every team in the Premier League. But every team in the Premier League is struggling with this, and it's because too much football's being played. But look, we're getting onto a whole different realm of conversation there. They're playing 2-3 games a week every week for most of the year. They're going to get injuries and more so. And actually, maybe the Premier League needs to take a leaf out of UEFA's rules and actually allow more substitutes on the bench and yada yada yada. Like I said, that's a whole different conversation. We have some really, really good players. What you're finding is that we have a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds, and then we have 29 to 32-year-olds. We're kind of missing that top prime quality player who is in their prime in the middle. I can only think of Gallagher, who is kind of 25 years old. I'm trying to think of other players off the top of my head that are kind of in their peak peak prime
Bentancur.
years.
Tom
Bentancur's nearing 30 as well, isn't he? So he's on the downturn of that. Romero, I guess, is entering into those peak years.
Van der
But like
Ven,
Van der Ven's 22, Xavi Simons is 22. Like, you know, they're all young players, yeah. But the problem isn't that the individual player quality isn't good. The problem is that the squad we built is not good. So we don't have a midfield player who plays deep in midfield who can actually pass the ball forward and link the play together. We have a lot of players who can run around and make a nuisance of themselves. Gallagher, Sarr, even Gray when he plays there a little bit is a bit like that. You know, we have a lot of those kind of midfielders, but we don't have someone who can actually sit back and dictate the pace of play and actually get the ball moving forward quickly, or keep a hold of it when we need to keep a hold of it. We've for the first half of the season have only had one left back. We've not got any other sort of creative players further. Like Xavi Simons is our only true creative player we've got in the squad at the moment because of the injuries and stuff we've got. Like even Kudus, when we had Kudus, he's not really a creative player. He's not a player who's going to thread a nice through ball. He's the guy who should be getting on the end of a through ball to cause problems. So we have individually some very, very good players that with the right squad building behind it and getting the players to knit it all together, we could have a fantastic team, especially over the next 3 or 4 years. And that's where we just need to be a bit better when it comes to our transfers. Like, also Xavi Simons was a complete, wasn't a player that we were going for initially. He was a player that we ended up with because we couldn't get Morgan Gibbs-White and we couldn't get Eze.
I'll tell you that's wrong. I mean, I can tell you, I'm going to talk about Rudolph's, what he said tonight. He was the one, and Cal was on this show quite a lot in the summer, and was constantly saying Simons is not necessarily going to Chelsea. Hang on there. We're constantly in this battle. Personally, I think if they could have got Simons and Eze or Simons and Morgan Gibbs-White, they would have done it. That's what I gather. But maybe, Jem, let's bring you in on this. I mean, today, when you look at it, and you sometimes say, how can you judge the squad when you've got out today? You've got Van der Ven, Danso, Spence, Porro, Bentancur, Kudus, Maddison, Kulusevski, and that's 9, and there was 11 on the list. Richarlison and one other.
Odegaard.
And no, Odegaard doesn't count because Odegaard was on the bench. There was 11. Anyway, look, I'm one short. Doesn't matter. That is a hell of a lot of talent that's in the treatment room.
of course, and I completely get that. If you look at it from the club's point of view, if you've got those people coming back in the next 2, 3, 4 months, you don't want to go out spending money on expanding the squad and then have a situation where you're overspending on wages, whatever, when those players come back. But there are lots of positions in which we clearly need to improve the quality of the squad. And I think there are players that we still need to move on. So I'd be really disappointed if we didn't spend any of the alleged money that we've got this window. I think it would be a real missed opportunity. And, you know, there's a bit of me that thinks, you know, if they don't spend the money and it does go all horribly pear-shaped, then, you know, it will kind of teach them a lesson. And I'm old enough to remember when we went down to the old second division, as you are, and actually it proved to be pivotal for us. We scraped our way back into the first division. We signed, you know, Ozzy and Ricky, and it took us to a different level. And maybe we need still to go down further to come back. I hope that's not the case, of course, but
football's different.
You know, it's frustrating. because we know there's money there. We know they've made 70 million from the Champions League as it is. They don't need to sell players in order to spend money. There is money sloshing about in football like there's no tomorrow.
I think the issue is that we have the money. I think we've gone in for players, and rightly so. I mean, we don't know. There's no transparency there, but we don't know. I think when it was Semenyo, whether it was Nathaniel Brown or Eintracht Frankfurt, you know, there's still rumours lurking around Akloosh, who I hope we get. But a lot of these players, clubs are not releasing. If clubs are challenging for honours or being threatened with relegation, they're not releasing their players for no one. We're not even getting rid of our excess players that if we had a fully fit squad, Dragons would have gone, and maybe, you know, one or two others may have gone. And I think we've had loads of knockbacks, and we're like, we will. I think we'll make a move. Either there'll be a move tonight or tomorrow. But if we make a move now, it's got to be like, we know we've got this money. We go to a club, no complicated Daniel Levy deals, basically. We go, right, you want 40 mil for the player? We give you the 40 mil. No add-ons, no nothing. Just do the deal. Do it as quick as you did Conor Gallagher. Get the deal done. Will we get anyone in? I think we will get someone in. Hope it's a permanent player that's going to give us good service rather than a loan. But like, I think most fans would take any player now, but we don't really want to do that. I mean, and I'm not one for Jem when they say bloating the squad. We're in a situation here. Bloat the squad. Worry about unbloating the squad in the summer. Bloat the squad if you have to. If you have to bring two in tomorrow, bring them in. You know, the situation is that we need to bring players in. So bring the players in. And if you bring Akloosh in, or you don't want to bring him in because Maddison's back on grass and Decky will be back soon, that's the wrong attitude to have, as far as I'm concerned, when we need to fix things now.
Okay, let me read from Rudolph, what he says, who tends to be one of the ITKs I trust. You can see where we are here. Current state of play ahead of the window closing tomorrow. We wanted to go big this window, and Wharton, Semenyo and Yildiz were three players identified as genuine game changers for the squad. The reality is our league form has been poor, which makes us a less attractive proposition than we'd like to be. We took just 3 points from a possible 15 in January. Had we picked up those missing 12 points, we'd have been sitting fourth ahead of this weekend's fixtures. 3 points off third, 6 off second, and 10 off top spot, and in a far stronger position to attract top-level players. Johnson going out, however much people want to moan, is good business. We haven't sold players at the right time over the last 10 to 12 years, and this was the right moment to do so. Additionally, Odobert looks a much better player on the right when he has played from the left than when he has played from the left. Gallagher is a decent signing, and long-term a very sensible piece of squad planning, both in terms of age, ability and homegrown status. Biss and Lolo are unlikely to be around next season. Sousa is one for the future with high potential. Going into tomorrow, things are complicated by the number of injuries. Ideally, we would have let Radu and Biss go, but both are now unlikely to leave unless replacements are brought in. If a top-quality permanent signing isn't available, we're open to a sensible non-committed loan if the right opportunity presents itself, particularly if it helps bridge us to the summer. Wharton and Yildiz are currently described as very unlikely, but I'm told that with a slight uptick in form and crucially performances, we're prepared to test the waters again tonight. Andy Robertson isn't off the table. Liverpool are trying to bring in a fullback, and if they do, this one could move late in the day. John Duran is a name we've made inquiries on. This would not be a permanent deal, but a loan with an option or obligation. It's hard to see this happening unless the Muani loan is cut short or Rishi suddenly decides to act on interest from Saudi Arabia and Brazil. But at the moment, he's having none of it. As mentioned, we love Wharton. We haven't been able to make it work either in the summer or this window. And while we'll continue to push, it remains unlikely at this moment in writing. Keith Smith is a name that's come up in the last 24 hours. I don't know anything about him. Spurs have a good relationship with AZ Alkmaar, that Schmidt arguably sits in the same quality player bracket as Wharton, and is more of an attacking 8 than a deep-lying playmaker, of which we desperately need. Radu wants minutes. Bichiabu is a player we like, could move for if Radu does depart. We also like Lukiba and Jacquet, but both are unlikely at this stage. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's breaking news that Jacquet has signed for Liverpool. We're prepared to be adaptive. People can laugh all they want, but moving players like Biss and Radu on and filling these spots with loan signings or similar or better quality helps position as well for the summer window, especially when historically we've struggled to ship players on. Football fortunes can turn very quickly. This is him, not me. I'm a huge supporter of ENIC. The vision they have is bright within the next 12 to 18 months. It's going to be a very exciting football club. Now, in fairness, I've heard that a lot from Randolph. But it doesn't sound like much is going to happen, and certainly not this 150, 200 million we've been promised for at least 2 windows. Who wants to pick up? Adrian.
Yeah, well, it's tight now, and the window closes at 7 o'clock tomorrow, if anything's going to happen. But again, look, what's their recruitment do from the beginning of the season round to now? And it's not about the manager. A manager may get his choice in. I mean, Ange got Solanke. That was his choice. Every club is a club signing. We as fans, we know what positions need to fill. We need to fill no matter what manager comes in. And there's no excuse for ENIC. None whatsoever. All right, there was a fiasco over Morgan Gibbs-White, fiasco over Eze. Fine, we moved on. We were linked. At least we were linked with him to Solis, Brahim Diaz at Real Madrid, Rodrigo if he's available on a loan. You can't tell me there aren't players out there that aren't getting game time that want to be part of their World Cup squads in the summer that won't come to us. There's so many good players out there. I'm not having it. And all this talk about top wages won't come. Listen, a lot of the players at Real Madrid, even at Juventus and players like that, they're there because they win things. And all Galacticos on top money, right? They're not, right? So no excuses for ENIC. If they're trying to make an excuse over Frank's future, sorry, that's wrong, right? If they're worried about bloating the squad, that's wrong. Get the players in, worry about who you want to get rid of in the summer.
Jimmy's comment there. Jimmy's one of our regulars. Evening, Jimmy. Always got something worthwhile hearing. Lies, more lies has been a constant stuff from ENIC. Why would we believe them now? Kev, my fear is I've tried to believe in them as well, but we're just being gaslit. Transfer window after transfer window.
Yeah, I mean, everyone thought, it's going to change. We got rid of Levy, which what a lot of people wanted, and some people were saying the grass isn't always greener. Who might have been proved right, because it doesn't appear to have changed anything apart from the speed at the start of the window. But then there's been nothing since then. I mean, two quick deals, and then bugger all basically. And if we get anything in the next 12 hours, whatever it is, in less than that, 24 hours, not quite 4 hours, then I'll be surprised, to be honest, especially permanent. If we get a loan here and there, maybe, but no, it hasn't really changed, has it?
Jem?
If you'd have asked me a month ago, I'd have said, go and test West Ham's resolve. Go and offer them 80 million for Bowen. See what happens. I'm sure there's a lot of people who say never come to Spurs. Well, I'm sure there's quite a few players in that West Ham team that would be happy to get out of the position they're currently in. And if he wants to be challenging for a World Cup place, he doesn't want to be in a team that's going to be relegated. I think they might have been tempted to take that kind of money. And I think he's the kind of player that I think would have done very well for us. It's clearly never going to happen now because they would need to have time to buy a replacement, and that's not going to happen in the time available. I'm exasperated by the fact that we're still leaving it to the last minute. And like others have said, we were always told that was Levy's doing. clearly not the case necessarily.
Never mind about Bowen. Anyone noticed Somerville got another worldie yesterday?
Yeah.
He's a player playing off the left, which is where we're really desperately short. Tom?
I absolutely no for me. I absolutely would not be offering 80 million for a 29-year-old Jared Bowen either.
No, I would.
But yeah, I get the sentiment. He is a good player. But look, I think one thing that is plainly obvious from this transfer window is that a lot of teams aren't doing any business until all of the European games are dealt with. So it happened last. So obviously they've changed the European fixtures now that they don't finish until the late last week of January, whereas they all used to be said and done before January. So teams knew where they are moving into the next round and moving into the second half of the season in terms of European football. You've got a lot of teams that aren't going to be wanting to sell their best players until they know that they're still playing European football for the rest of the season and stuff like that. So I think that's why actually, if you look at all teams apart from City, they're not doing any deals until after all those European games are done. That's not me making an excuse for ENIC and stuff like that, because we should be setting our sights like earlier and stuff like that. But January is notorious for being a domino kind of window where a deal doesn't happen until another deal's happened and then another deal's happened. Like the only reason why Robertson isn't a Spurs player at the moment is because Liverpool are trying to get another left back for their backup and stuff like that. Do I think Robertson is the answer to all of our problems? Absolutely not, but he does provide us with decent cover on that left-hand side. But I don't believe that Rudolph has much, if any, information at all. I mean, if you'd finished that and gone signed Vivian Lewis, I would have believed absolutely every word of it.
I was actually thinking of saying, love Vivian, yeah, absolutely.
It just, yeah. It just screams that there's someone within the club that's got a hold of social media and saying stuff. You know, but this is the thing. Like Thomas Frank said, we've got the players we want, and then we've also got the second and the third and the fourth and the fifth and the sixth. So okay, yeah, we wanted Adam Morton. Okay, well, who we can't get him for whatever reason. So who's the second? Who's the third? Who's the fourth? Why are we? I don't think we should be getting players in just for the sake of getting players in.
But Tom, I mean, Frank said we're not going to be doing this. We're not going to be going for our fourth and fifth choices. We'll try if we can't get the first or second choice. We'll stick with what we've got until we can.
That's fine, but you're going to say that every transfer window and then never sign a player, which is what we're doing. So you know. Whatever way you look at it, you can't just say that Adam Morton's the only player that we want and can get that's going to improve us in that position, because that's an absolute horseshit. There's probably about 50, 60 players in that midfield that could that play that position that could improve Tottenham Hotspur. So,
Ronnie, tell me that you're not just, I know with your little looky eyes, tell me that you know something. And you're not just giving us a wind up. I suspect it's a wind up.
Well, to add to that, I mean, when we had to someone like Akluosh, right, who played so well against us for Monaco, now he's got to be worth a. I mean, how many games can Xavi Simons play on the spin for us in his first season in the Premier League anyway, right? But until Maddison's on grass, but he ain't pretty ready for another month. And Decky probably maybe the end of February as well. So where's their creativity going to come from if Simmons gets a knock, right? I mean, this is why I'm not worried about having a squad bloated with creative players. You could go and get Akluosh. You could go and get him. I think he would do a good job. He'd fill so many holes, not just because he's a jack of all trades and master of none. He is a bloody good footballer, what I've seen.
Yeah, but also bloat the squad and then keep the good ones and sell the less good ones.
Exactly.
And like the thing is, Akliush is similar to Kulusevski, But do we actually think Kulusevski's ever going to play football again? Like,
I think Kulusevski comes back. He comes back on the right wing as a competition for Kudus, to be honest, because we'll have enough rates in the middle. You know. Sorry,
Adrian. Tom was asked a different question, and it's an important question. This was someone that was out with what appeared to be a relatively minor injury. He's been having treatment. I think he had some surgery, and the last we heard, he was getting an injection, so whether it was some sort of anabolic steroid or whatever, and then we'll know the situation in 3 or 4 weeks, which we're coming up to. My worry is that this injury is far, far more serious for Kulusevski, career-threatening injury.
Well, all the more reason to get a Cluish then, because he can play across he's left-footed and he can play across the whole midfield. And he's a ball carrier. He carries the ball forward. And Tom was going on about having a pass through midfield. I mean, he makes things tick at Monaco. All right, they're doing crap at the moment, and they've dropped their price. If we went enough for the money, we'd get him. If they don't fancy him, fair enough, he won't come in. But I think it's a very doable deal. I really do.
Okay, but why haven't we done it then? That's my point. Jimmy's come back. Jimmy, I don't know what your information is. I haven't heard that. I know there was concern because he was off on a plane to Barcelona or somewhere in Spain, I think, where he was getting the treatment. I think if the injection hasn't worked, we've got a serious problem there, because that's a top player, although I'm not always his number one fan. I mean, he is a top player. You know.
Well, what we've got in midfield, sorry, just to butt in, is that Decky and Maddison, and I don't like it when people try to play one off against the other, scored 22 goals for us last season. Well, how many midfielders are going to get us 5 this season? And I like Gray, but even Gray or Bergvall when he's fit, you know, or whatever, or like Polina's probably chipped in.
Bergvall was the one I missed.
Yeah. So, like, who's going to score goals for us? We need midfielders that score goals as well, not just running around a lot, as Tom says.
Oh, I'm just going to throw into the mix. I mean, and this is looking ahead, getting stuff done early. The World Cup final is on the 19th of July. The Premier League season starts on the 22nd of August.
Yeah.
Now, you're talking new managers and getting players in. You ain't got a lot of time.
And also, Tom, to add to that, if you're on World Cup duty, you're entitled by law or by rules to have so much of a rest period, because PSG had that problem last year.
Yep.
I think it's 3 players have to have a minimum period of 3 weeks between seasons.
Minimum pre-season out the window.
I've got a dash, but one question I'll just pose to you guys. We've spoken a lot about players. We've spoken a lot about like managers we'd like in. If Thomas Frank somehow manages to get us Conference League next year, finish top 7, top 8, would you keep him on?
No.
One word answer, Kev?
Yeah, probably not.
Jem?
I'm going to say yes, just to be controversial.
Okay, well, it's a no from me. So, Thomas, yeah, that's fair enough. But then we sacked Ange for doing worse than this guy's doing.
Might yet win the Champions League. You never know.
The sacking of Ange becomes increasingly brainless with each passing week, particularly if he'd have been given money to spend on the kind of players. I mean, apparently Ange wanted Conor Gallagher. Now, think what a difference Conor Gallagher would have made to in Ange's system. Anyway, we are where we are. Tom, I know you want to go. I think unless something remarkable happens tomorrow, Adrian, you'll be back online on Tuesday, will you?
Yeah. I mean, like, we can discuss what deals we didn't do in the transfer window. Whatever. We'll see. You know, a day's a long time in Spurs. You know what I mean? Spurs politics.
I think it's easy to get carried away with the improvement that we saw today, but actually the next 3 games are going to give us a very clear indication as to whether we're actually rubbish or whether we have some potential to get up that table. It's going to be 3 tough games, and we're going to need the kind of spirit that we showed in the second half today in both halves. And that's been a real major failing this season, is our inability to be consistent across the whole 90 minutes. So I'm looking forward to the next 3 games.
I mean,
I certainly hope that we get something from all of them.
Yeah. Sorry, Jim. Tom needs to rush, so I'm just going to say thanks and goodbye. Okay, thanks, Tom. Sorry, Jim. Just wanted to say cheerio.
Yeah. We've been real Jekyll and Hyde, though, haven't we? When we've been resilient in games away at Brighton, we go away, we win at Man City. We've got, I mean, in Europe and that, 6 clean sheets. I mean, I did post a video of every game we played to the final and passed it out in the groups. And Vicario saves during them games coming up to that final. You know what I mean? He looked fantastic. Some of them were just world-class saves, and we do that. And I like today, though, but it's not so much like if you were conceding a goal, it deflected off a player, you're a bit unlucky, or you could make them. And then we go from defending ever so well and managing games to a right shit show where we give away, I mean, such sloppy goals. You schoolboy errors, basically, Jem. So I agree. You know what I mean? We are just Jekyll and Hyde. Well, it's Frank's job to fix this. And I think fixing it would help. We've got to fix the midfield first. And we've not had a settled midfield. We've got to
I think Frank is a smart guy. I think he's articulate. I think he's a thinker. I've been really disappointed at his lack of courage.
Yeah,
I've been really disappointed at his unwillingness to change the system. But I do see some signs that he's beginning to realise that the answer is not to carry on playing the way we have been playing for the past few seasons, that he actually does have to change it. And I'm hopeful. I've been hopeful for decades. But I'm hopeful that trend continues and that it is a trend rather than just a blip.
I mean, you look at the way he plays, whatever system it is, and it tends to be, right, we get out of fullbacks, we play it down the wings. All right, I know a lot of teams play that way. But how often we try and actually progress the ball through the middle? This is why midfield's not working. It's just not working.
No. And that's why Xavi was so effective today, because he showed far more penetration than we've showed for a long time.
Jem, of course, is the eternal optimist because he was so pessimistic, he can never be disappointed. Whereas I, being the optimist, I'm actually the pessimist because I always end up disappointed. This was a philosophical discussion we must have had the thick end of 50 years ago, Mr. Silverstone. But there you go.
It's still true today.
Yeah. All right. Anyone want a last word? We've an hour and 37. That's past my bedtime anyway. Starting late. Kev, anything? Any last requests?
Just hopeful that the injuries we saw towards the end of the game and the knackeredness, they've got a week to recover now. Let's see what we've got to play with next Saturday.
Yeah.
I think Romero and VDV will be back next week. I don't know what's up with Danso. Spence had a calf problem, I think.
Danso
hyperextending his big toe.
And he's
ligament in his big toe, yeah, that was it. He did what Romero did last year and wouldn't come off, yeah? So
how long's that? I thought, God, that's him out for the season, but
no.
The manager seemed to think that we're going to be he's only going to be a week or two with that, so we'll see.
Yeah, let's hope that Basuma doesn't play next week.
All right. Yeah. Good night. Yeah. 12:30 Saturday is the game Jimmy's put up, and Graham's not listening for the time. Thanks, Graham. So always enjoy your contributions. Jem, any last word?
Yeah. What happens when Solanke gets injured again? No. The reality is, if we beat Arsenal, he'll be a hero, won't he? Irrespective of whatever else happens, it was looking like a really tough February. Still looks like a tough February. Newcastle, United, Arsenal still to come. If we get a win against Arsenal and lose the other two, I think it will it will please most Spurs fans, but I'd love to think that we could get something from each of those games. 3 draws in the next 3 games. I'd take that. If you
How
offered
many
it
points,
to me
Jim,
right
for
now.
those 3 games? If it's not 3 draws, that's 3 points. How many points do you think we could get from those 3?
I think we'll get 4 points.
Yeah, I think 4. I think 4 will be all right. I think 4 will be okay. Realistically, this idea we're going to put a 4 or 5 winning run together, I think is fanciful. But look, I just think we need to get to the summer. We need to get to the summer with our squad intact, some of our injured players back, our Premier League survival guaranteed, and then the whole club should take. Yeah, thanks, Phil. The whole club needs to have a look. I think the time is running out for ENIC unless they either put this money up or get out of the club, because I think there will come a point where people get fed up with the talk, and I'm fed up with the talk. They got rid of Levy for various reasons, but you look at the board. You look at the board of directors, and it's there's an aviation expert, there's a financial expert, there's this, there's no
Lawyer.
expertise.
The fact that we're in the Champions League still is masking that reality. If we go out in the last 16, suddenly the reality is we've got nothing to play for other than survival.
What's interesting, even with tomorrow, which might, if we don't get no one in, it won't make it that much more interesting. But on the 5th, I mean, it's the 2nd tomorrow, but on the 5th, we have to register a Champions League squad. If we do bring an extra foreign player in, we've got to decide. I mean, Tell was left out and then brought back in because of Solanke's injury. That'll be a debate when that squad, we'll be discussing that on here, that's for sure. I'm sure our other podcast will as well.
Tell's on record as saying he won't stay at the club beyond tomorrow if unless Thomas Frank is sacked. And
I'd
Thomas
keep
Frank
him over Richarlison. I would keep him over Richarlison. I think he's just got much more potential. I mean, what we have seen, which is good, we've seen Odegaard raise his level, we've seen Tell raise his level, we've seen Moani, Xavi raise his level, and all right, they're not quite at the level there yet. But we're seeing there's players there. I mean, I've seen them play for France under 21s. There's players there. I want them kept. So if it means that we play Tell down the middle alongside Solanke rather than Moani, because I don't think Moani's going to be with us. And if he's not going to be with us in the summer, then why are we playing him now? Give Tell a good run.
Else. I suppose he could have played Tell, but yeah. Nita actually said this. If you haven't hit the like button and the subscribe button, please do that. That's helped the show massively. All right, I think we're done. Thank you to all those of you in the chat. Brilliant getting your views and what have you. Yeah, we differ. But, do we complain? No. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Going out with the our closing music. Thanks to Jem. Thanks for coming on. It's always a pleasure having you on. And to you, Kev. Again to Tom and Adrian. And Adrian, 10 o'clock on Tuesday night, is it?
9 o'clock. We could do Tuesday shows now because it's a bit late for people that have got work. Just like to reiterate what Ian said earlier, the 90 of you viewing us on various platforms, it would help if you get over to our YouTube channel and subscribe to the channel and gives a thumbs up because it helps the algorithm. Big up to everyone who watches us on playback. Big up to you loyal followers in the chat channel for your questions and comments.
Absolutely. There'll be a show as well on Friday. I'll be back at 8 o'clock next Sunday night to discuss the Manchester United game and the latest injury crisis. Thanks again, everybody. See you next Sunday.
We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die. Hearts, heart and soul. We are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die. Hearts, heart and soul. are Tottenham till we die. We are Tottenham till we die. Spurs die, hearts, heart and soul. Lily white and navy blue.